I'd like to call to order the regular council meeting for Tuesday, December 17th, 2024. This meeting is being recorded live and is streaming on the District of Summerland YouTube channel. All representations to council, written or verbal, will form part of the public record and be available to the public for viewing electronically or as a written record. Before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge our new MLA, Amelia Boltby, is here, and I'll just invite Amelia up if she wants to say a few words.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council, and those watching on Zoom and everyone here. Thank you for providing me with the opportunity to introduce myself. I thought I would just take this opportunity to just tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up in Penticton, trained as a lawyer and spent a couple of years on Penticton City Council. I'm really honored to be here as your MLA today, and I'm looking forward to working with all of you. And I love Summerland. I've spent quite a bit of time getting to know it even better during the election door knocking and come to really appreciate Summerland. And I'm looking forward to getting to know the community and this council even better and working with you as your MLA. And I'll let you know that I can be reached at amelia.boltby.mla@ledge.bc.ca or at 778-242-1336. I'm fairly easy to find, and I would love to hear from yourselves as council or anyone in the community. Looking forward to working with all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, MLA Boltby. Thanks for joining us today. Corporate officer, any late items? No late items. If I get approval of the agenda, please. Councillor Peak, Councillor Patton, all in favor, and that carries. Consent agenda. Would anybody like to remove anything from the consent agenda? Councillor Betts.
I've actually got 3 attachments, A, C, and D.
Okay.
The Fire Smart and then
Yeah.
from Solga.
So those will all move down to item number 11. Anyone else? Okay, if I get approval of the consent agenda as amended. Councillor Barkwell, Councillor Betts, all in favor, that carries. Straight into my report. This is the time of year for budget deliberations. And besides our own council budget meetings on December 10th and 11th, Councillor Barkwell and I attended the second round of budget debates at the Regional District of Okanagan-Similkameen on December 12th. These will continue into the new year. Councillor Barkwell and I also attended the regular board meeting on December 5th, the regular board meeting of the RDUS. After the regional district meeting on the 5th, all members of council met with the School District 67 board, where we discussed the impact of the closure of Giants Head School and the conversion of Summerland Middle School into the Summerland Elementary School. Discussion included revisions to our transportation master plan to ensure safe routes to school, as well as future plans for the Giants Head School building. On December 4th, I was joined by Deputy Mayor Traynor and Councillors Peak, Betts, and Patton at the now former site of the United Church for a celebration of the start of construction of a 60-unit affordable housing project and a new space for the Food Bank and Resource Centre. The project is a partnership between the Turning Points Collaborative, Summerland Food Bank, and the United Church. It's exciting to see the project move ahead, given the need for affordable housing in Summerland. And as a reminder, council is supporting the project by waiving development and building fees and approving height and parking variances. November 29th was also, so I'm jumping ahead of myself. Earlier that same day, on December 4th, district staff and I attended a Zoom meeting hosted by the Ministry of Transportation to discuss the work at the landslide on Highway 97, just north of Summerland. The site will be shut down over the winter and a contract will be tendered for the long-term stabilization of the area. Once work resumes, there will be intermittent closures of the southbound lanes between the site and Bentley Road. But we were told that these closures will only be during limited periods and not all at the same time as was done previously. After expressing our concerns about traffic, we were told the ministry will arrange for extra speed reader boards and also increase the speed limit through the construction zone with the intent of reducing driver frustration and speeding through Summerland once drivers get past the slide. The ministry will also request additional RCMP enforcement on the highway through Summerland. On December 3rd, I attended the monthly meeting of the Okanagan Basin Water Board, where we heard about the discovery of yet another invasive mussel that's new to North America. This one's called the golden mussel. It's a species that's originally from China, and it's being found in California. Like the quagga and zebra mussels, it presents a threat to infrastructure and habitat, and we need to do everything we can to keep it out of the Okanagan. On November 29th, Deputy Mayor Traynor and I met with our new MLA, Amelia Boltby. We discussed council's strategic priorities and some of the issues we're facing, particularly in respect to infrastructure. And we also invited her to attend today's meeting so she can introduce herself, and here she is. November 29th was also, of course, Light Up. And once again, it was an honor to flick the switch to turn on the lights. And as always, I appreciated having council join me for the countdown, along with MLA Boltby, together with our outgoing MLA, Dan Ashton, and our Member of Parliament, Dan Elvis. Congratulations to Destination Summerland, or the Chamber of Commerce, as they're better known, for another successful Festival of the Lights. The weather cooperated and downtown was buzzing with live music, the fireworks, and all the vendors and all our local businesses. Thank you also to the district staff who worked with the chamber in planning, setting up, operating, and cleaning up afterwards. With such collaboration, it's easy to see why Light Up is one of the premier attractions of the Okanagan. The night before Light Up on November 28th, I was joined by Deputy Mayor Traynor and Councillors Peake, Barkwell, and Betts at the Light Up the Arts reception hosted by the Arts Council at the George Riga Arts and Cultural Center. If anyone is looking for any last minute gifts, Light Up the Arts continues until Christmas Eve. Finally, I would like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Looking back on 2024, we've had yet another very busy year, and we continue to make solid progress on our strategic priorities. I look forward to keeping the momentum going as we begin the second half of our term. That's my report. I'll now ask the CAO for his.
The temporary fencing is taken down and the new permanent dog park is now installed at Peach Orchard Park. It's nice to have this permanent location sorted out after many months of temporary fencing while planning and approvals of the province were being worked through. This new four-season washrooms at the base of Giants Head Park will also be open soon, which is another great addition to our park offerings in the district. These are in addition to the Giants Head Trails improvements already underway and the planning work associated with the Conkle Mountain and Cartwright Mountain Trails networks. Other items of focus in Council's work plan include exciting changes at the entranceway of Memorial Park as part of the planned Wharton Street improvements, an upgraded playground at Peach Orchard Park, and capital improvements at the rodeo grounds. Taken together with things already completed like improvements to Julia Street Park, the joint effort with ST67 to rebuild the tennis courts, and the recently completed Summerland Pier rebuild, there's certainly lots of good progress being made towards recreational infrastructure and offerings in the district. 2025 Summerland free fare passes are now available to add to your UMO card or app. A 2025 pass is required for Summerland residents to continue accessing free fares on Route 30 for the upcoming year. Stop at Municipal Hall or the Aquatic Center to get yours. Residents are encouraged to check out the community update section of our website regarding various closures associated with our services and facilities during the Christmas holiday period. In particular, I would note that Municipal Hall will close on December 22nd at 2 p.m. and the landfill will be closed December 25th, 26th, and January 1st. We also have some special holiday swims and skates posted on pages 4 and 5 of the Winter Recreation Guide if you are looking to do something with the family during the break. During the holiday break, you can still report any after-hour service impacts or emergencies for water, sewer, electrical, roads, or parks by calling 250-490-0005. Of course, if you are experiencing or need to report any police, fire, or medical emergency, always call 911 for immediate assistance. Finally, as we turn our mind to the new year, just a reminder that we will be hosting a budget open house on January 15th from 5 to 7 p.m. at the Summerland Arena and Banquet Room with a presentation from our Director of Finance starting at 6 p.m. The open house is an opportunity to learn about the priority projects planned for 2025 and how your tax dollars will be invested in the community in the areas of roads, parks, and recreation, fire protection, and policing. If you can make it, please come out and provide your feedback on the 2025 financial plan. With that, I conclude my report.
Okay, thank you very much. Council, any questions? No, so we'll move straight into our delegations. We have one this afternoon regarding the food hub. Mr. Tumbach. Just push the button. Yeah, perfect. The floor is yours.
Hi, Mayor and Council. Thanks for having me. I'm here to represent Locomotive Organic Delivery regarding an application for funding we're looking at. I am involved with the Food Hub project. We are a partner in the project, actually. As you are all very aware, Summerland is an agricultural community. You might be surprised to know that there are very few opportunities for emerging farmers to gain the skills necessary to get involved with farming. There was probably a time when this was an easy thing to do. Your neighbor would take on your child as an apprentice if they wanted to, or you would apprentice your own child. But these opportunities are few and far between these days. And even as far as the skills and training programs offered by many colleges or institutions, farming is unfortunately not recognized as a skill or a training opportunity. So there are very few opportunities, and we're seeing a definite trend towards less and less young people taking up farming. It's becoming increasingly challenging to take up farming for many different reasons. But even if they did want to take up farming, they would be faced with an incredible barrier, which is the lack of skills and training opportunities. So today I am here to request some assistance with a grant application we're working on. It's a recently announced grant by the federal government called the Local Food Infrastructure Fund. And it's a 2-year funding opportunity. It provides up to $500,000 in funding for projects, mainly capital expenditures. They'll cover up to 75% of the ask, and the applicant needs to provide 25% of a contribution, 50% of which can be an in-kind cost, but the other 50% of that 25 needs to be a cash contribution. And so what we're proposing to do is, in association with the exciting Food Hub project, which most of you are aware of, we are proposing to build a greenhouse structure which would be used for education and training purposes as well as production. So the Local Food Infrastructure Grant that's available, the intake is starting in January, mid-January, January 13th. It's open till the end of February. It does require that we have a partner to be the lead applicant in the application. So currently, we would not be eligible to apply for this project on our own as our company. Municipalities, however, do meet the eligibility criteria. So we're looking for assistance with that application. We're asking that the District of Summerland would consider being the lead applicant on our grant application. And a little bit more in the scope of the project, basically to create a space where we can train potential future farmers. And so that space could be a greenhouse. It could also be indoor agriculture, for example, vertical growing systems. And it's killing two birds with one stone. We're training applicants to this program in skills in agriculture, but we're also producing local food. And a part of the vision of this project would be to actually earmark a percentage of the production to local food security organizations. So for example, something like 20% of production could go directly to food banks, soup kitchens, nonprofit entities that are trying to supply local food. And it would be a great way to do this because we would have more production in the seasons that are not as productive through the greenhousing or indoor growing. And it also provides a dry, clean, warm space for trainees, which is normally only available in 6 months of the year, say from April until October. So we feel like this project would be a really good add-on for the Future Food Hub project because it will also increase the availability of local product for that food hub facility and storage facility, but also provide training at the same time. So what we're asking is at least for a letter of support from the District of Summerland and for the District of Summerland to take position as the lead applicant in this. We can provide more details. And also if there's an opportunity for any financial support, if we were to apply for the maximum amount of funding, which would be $500,000, the breakdown of cash contribution would be somewhere around $70,000 that we're trying to raise. And we do have other partners that might be able to help with that as well. However, if there was any room in the budget for that, I'd love to hear more about that and how we can collaborate in that sense as well.
Okay, I think we'll have to save some time for questions,
Yeah.
if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the deadline?
It's February 28th, I
Okay.
believe. Yeah.
Okay, council, any questions? So I guess CAO, he would work with you or Mr. Dolivet, or who would we ask?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think on this one, what we'd do is bring back a report with some analysis for council in terms of and recommendations on to what extent we can or should be involved, and then council can direct us accordingly, but Brad would be the key contact.
Councillor Betts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Thomas, Mr. Tembeck, for your presentation. I think it's really outstanding to identify the gap that we have in skills training and providing opportunities for the future generations of farming. That's one of the identifiable gaps, and there's many. Obviously, cost of just getting in the door is one of our biggest hurdles looking forward. So I really think this is a really interesting opportunity to provide not only an educational opportunity and skills training, but also looking at opportunities like, the vertical growing and being able to use our existing infrastructure for growing food 12 months of the year instead of 6, which I just think's really neat. So yeah, my question, but you identified it at the end, is looking for support. Essentially, could the district be the lead applicant without having a financial commitment? Is that a possibility from your organization without us knowing more at this time?
Yeah, definitely it is. I guess we do have some other options that we're exploring. And the main priority would be to get some support as the lead applicant, not necessarily any financial contribution. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm certainly in support of getting a report and getting more information about how council and the District of Summerland could be involved supporting this type of project. I think this is really forward thinking and really important. Thank you.
Councillor Peak.
Thank you very kindly, Mr. Mayor. I'm pleased that you come to talk about this today, Thomas, and I would, as a person who has worked on council for a long time and knowing that we have had a great interest in the food hub and the security of our food future, that the things that you're talking about in terms of a training organization and mentoring young people that want to go into farming is really important. I'll be interested in seeing the report and the ways that we might be able to support you doing that.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Councillor Trainer.
Maybe you said it and I missed it, but where would the greenhouse be located?
The site of the food hub currently proposed is on the highway 15815,
Okay.
highway 97. And there's ample room for a greenhouse structure or potentially an indoor structure.
Okay.
depending. Yeah.
Good.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much for bringing this forward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, thank you. We now have our public comment opportunity for any business item on the agenda, items 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, or items 18.2 and 18.3. Any member of the public would like to comment on any of those items, please come to the podium. Just state your name and civic address for the record, please.
My name is Elizabeth Rennie.
Just, yeah.
My name is Elizabeth Rennie. For objective safety reasons, I'm not in a position to give my exact residential address within the city of Summerland.
That's fine.
The concern is that it will then remain on this recording and on the internet. I have provided my specific address to city staff before this
That's
meeting.
fine. Thank you.
I'm here, Mayor and council members, I'm here before you today as representative for the owners of 9 residential properties within the district to make a public comment to agenda item 18.3, which is the pending development of a property located at 6104 Cuthbert Road. This public comment does not constitute an exception to the public comment right. And for timing reasons, a delegation opportunity does not assist us in making this comment before City Council. All property owners who've been contacted in person to date about this particular development have indicated a concern about a lack of available information to them about it and their perceived denial of voice in advance of any development application decisions. A number of the owners are present today. Others who are not able to be here today have indicated and authorized myself to speak to you today on their behalf. Specifically, we're going to make a number of requests of council which are going to be set in a letter that we will file after this public comment because of time constraints. But we're asking for full notice be given to all property owners, which, by the way, includes the actual city of Summerland, who may be negatively affected by the subdivision and subsequent development applications of the property. And that those persons be permitted to review the subdivision application and any future development applications for the property and their accompanying materials. That they be given an opportunity to write and or make oral submissions on the suitability of the subdivision application and subsequent development applications for the property. And that this council, after hearing this public comment and reviewing the filed material, will within 5 days respond to our request as per Summerland's communication policy. Briefly, we have previously sent a letter to Department of Services making an identical request, and despite promises, there has been no answer from Development Services to that request. We also, we feel at this point, as a result of that, we can only raise this with City Council now.
Okay, sorry, I'll have to ask you to wrap up.
Yes.
Other people could speak if they want to it. Also, just so you know, if you want to contact all of us by email, council@summerland.ca. that will come to all of us.
I appreciate that, Your Worship. And what I'm not going to go into the short submissions that I had prepared for this short public comment, but they will be attached to the letter that we will file later today. And I thank yourself, Your Worship, and council members for this opportunity to make a public comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to comment? Okay, so we'll move on to our first business item, temporary bus stop at Lions Church. That would be Ms. Coleman.
Okay, good afternoon, Mayor and Council, and to the public and staff. So today I am presenting a report and recommendation to Council and Mayor for following a request to look into the feasibility of a temporary bus stop to accommodate the food bank that was previously at the Alliance Church across the street. The United Church across the street, and it's now moved to the Alliance Church up the road. So as for some background, this is just a map showing the previous location of where the food bank was located, which was across the street from Municipal Hall here. And it's now just up the road at the Alliance Church off of Victoria Road North. With the food bank operating out of there, and now that the church is closed in the pending demolition and future development, their temporary location is now further away from downtown, and there was a request to council to determine feasibility of putting in a temporary stop in order to allow for residents who were previously accessing it in the core to continue to have accessible access at its new temporary location. So with the Route 30 that currently runs through the district of Summerland and then services down to the city of Penticton, the route in its current form does not go up Victoria Road North. It bumps along Victoria and then it heads along to Jubilee and does a small little loop around kind of the main core that we have. We also have the free fare program, which has been previously implemented by council in a permanent nature, which has allowed Summerland residents to access the Route 30 without paying for the local fares. With that being said, because there is no route up to the north end there with the temporary location that's now currently in place for the food bank, access to it is required. District of Summerland staff went to BC Transit, who is on the call today if we have any specific questions for them, that they provide us with some opportunity or options to consider. Because it is still technically their service, there's a lot of considerations that staff wouldn't be able to do on their own. So BC Transit was engaged with, and we received a report, which I will summarize here with 3 proposed options. So the first option is that we maintain the existing Route 30, but offer service to the food bank from the Route 30 route up to the Alliance Church using the On Request service. The On Request service is it's a service that provides people the opportunity to call in and specifically request a pickup and drop off location. It currently is not part of the free fare program, so it still is a cost to any users of the bus system and the On Request service. So it's a local fare of $2.25. So a food bank user today without this temporary bus stop would have to make that call, put that money down, and then get themselves up to the food bank at its current location. So BC Transit has requested or has suggested in this option here that this one be used or utilized potentially because it would not result in any changes to the Route 30 route. It would continue to operate in its current form with minor alterations of using the On Request specifically for the food bank users. This could be implemented immediately and it ensures that continued access through Route 30 is maintained. The second option that was proposed through the BC Transit report was to temporarily remove the Trout Creek service and move it from limited to having no service, and then utilizing those service hours and implementing them to service the Alliance Church location for the food bank. So any of those hours would just be transferred over. So currently Trout Creek has a part-time service, and so it's not serviced all the time. So right now it's only partial. So it wouldn't disrupt as much as compared to the regular Route 30 that we currently have. Because of public requests in the past has been to increase service to Trout Creek and provide greater service and accessibility. The BC Transit did see this as potentially not a great option just because there is risk of public disagreement with that potential option. This would also not likely be implemented until September of next year, just due to the time and level of engagement needed in order to get this implemented and get a final service connected. The last option, option number 3, is the expansion of Route 30. So to actually add additional service hours to provide a specific route and temporary stop to the food bank. Currently, we've got the route that goes from Victoria to Jubilee. It would just be extended upwards to hit the Victoria Road North. It would maintain all service hours, but unfortunately this likely wouldn't be implemented until late in next year or into 2026. So they've estimated about summer 2026 with it being contingent on provincial funding in order to extend service hours, to get funding to support that, and then to again engage with the public. So this is a bit of a longer turnaround time for the actual temporary bus stop. So with each of these, there's some financial implications to have council consider. With option 1, because there isn't a disruption to the existing service and it would be using an existing on-request service that's offered by BC Transit, the cost is less and it would typically be tied to the change of users for on-request services. So we would expect, in under normal circumstances, any food bank users to call in, pay the fee. We received some numbers from the food bank as to kind of monthly users, and we kind of made an estimate as to how many we would suspect would be using that bus service, and then tied that to the potential loss in fares associated with that. And we had just about, we said 25%, so it was approximately $912.37. There would not be any additional infrastructure required. We already have the bus. It would just go to and from that location. For option number 2, temporarily removing the Trout Creek service. So there would be a small revenue loss because we would no longer have service to Trout Creek directly as we currently do in a limited capacity. So there would be some regional fares likely lost as a result of that. It's hard to tell how much, only because we don't keep track of that, and there's no way for us to know who stops at which one and how much that would potentially lose. In addition, there would be an undetermined amount of money associated with the actual bus stop, because there would be one set up temporarily at the food bank. So there's a cost there that we aren't 100% sure about. Lastly, with option 3, which is the expansion of Route 30, so adding on additional service hours, because we are going to be requesting provincial funding for this, as well as infrastructure. BC Transit estimated that the total cost would be about $33,000 to do this on a temporary basis, but then $18,000 of that would come from us as the local government partner, which is what our typical financial agreements are, as we contribute as a local government in part to the cost of maintaining the Route 30 bus route. There's again the undetermined cost for the signage required as well for that temporary bus stop if that option were to be used. With that being said, staff is recommending the option 1, which is to maintain the existing routing, but include free fare for the on-request service, specifically for food bank users. So this would mean there was no disruption to the existing current Route 30 route. It could be implemented immediately. The on-request service is currently in place, and we've had confirmation from BC Transit as well that we can communicate to their staff. There's a specific booker who takes calls for on-request, and we can just advise them that anyone calling in to use the food bank, they relay that to the bus driver so they're aware they don't have to tap their card or pay a fee in order to utilize that on-request service for the food bank access. This option as well adheres to Council's original priorities for the free fare program to provide free transit for Summerland residents and to support increased bus ridership. And then lastly, there is minimal fare loss expected from this, from food bank users having to utilize the on request service. So we expect that there would be minimal disruption in that case for fares and money. So with that being said, staff is recommending to council that they approve the option 1, which is for the on request program as outlined in the report for the Summerland Food Bank and Resource Center on 14820 Victoria Road North. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Council, any questions? Councillor Trainer.
Thank you, Odessa, for bringing forward all the options. In my mind, option 1 definitely seems like the most logical, given that they're only requesting, like, it's only gonna be for 2 years. Is that correct? That's correct. Okay, so yeah, to me, it makes total sense to do number 1, so we can get it started right away and then go back to normal when it's in 2 years. So, thanks.
Councillor Peak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank staff for a very thorough report that really gives a good reflection of what the impact of those choices would be. But definitely the alternate for option 1 would work because we only have likely 2 years of building. And the opportunity to increase ridership is a great thing. It gets people used to using the bus in a different way. And there will be some people in the good weather that may walk anyway. There's a lot of people that, I'm amazed at how many people walk with their goods, whether they've been shopping or otherwise. But those that are not as capable, this would certainly be responsive to that. So I think the 25% usage as a projection is quite likely to be true. Thank you for all your help in this.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Patton.
Thank you, Worship. Thanks for the report, Odessa. My question is what kind of communication plan would go out to seniors in our community that are under financial hardship that know that we are going to give a group of citizens attending the food bank free on request bus, but yet those that may not be financially able will still have to pay for that service. So I'm just kind of wondering what kind of communication plan is going to go out to explain this to our citizens?
Through the chair, that's a very fair point. So currently what I've done in the past as part of the free fare program is gone through social media. We've got a TV spot in the main hall. We also have tickets that we've given out to bus drivers to provide information to bus users. It's a bit of a wider breadth, but just for context as to what I've typically done, as well as ensuring that we have signage up at all of our vendor locations at Municipal Hall and the Aquatic Center. In this case, with the food bank as a specific resource that we are providing this temporary service to, I would hope that we could collaborate with the food bank and get that information out specifically and directly to their users. I imagine they've probably got newsletters or emails or posters that we can put up specifically for them. And that would supplement any of the additional advertising that we would do on our end in order to, it would likely be seen by everyone. I think that's just a circumstance of the advertising and making sure that we are inclusive of anyone who would want to use the food bank. But that would also be an additional component, is working specifically with the food bank to help them out.
Thank you. I know that prior to our free service, that the food bank actually handed out bus vouchers to those. So I'm wondering if that is an option still, that those vouchers could go to those using the service by being supplied by our food bank, those vouchers.
I'm not too familiar with what the vouchers were. I don't know if they were specific tickets that were developed for the food bank, but I know it wasn't discussed with BC Transit. We have been trying to push folks to go and use the emo card or in a way to track users and ridership, et cetera. So at this point, we've got the booking, which can be done, which is what the on request service is for. Whereas before that, I would assume they were receiving it to just access in general the entire Route 30 service. So with the on request, they'd have to specifically call in, which is what the option was providing. So I don't know And I don't know if we'd be able to get some sort of printed chits for that. Might be a question for BC Transit, but this one would be a really quick way to get this started. Is just call up BC Transit, say this is what we're doing. They can communicate it to their callers and the bookers and the bus drivers, and we wouldn't have to wait for product to come in to then hand out, et cetera. So this would be a lot quicker without having to add on any additional little bits and pieces.
Thank you so much.
Councillor Betts?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Odessa, is with the on-demand, I don't know if you could answer this, or maybe BC Transit, would the resident typically pay the $2.25 fare each way?
I would assume so, only because typically you'd go to a location, pay to get there, and then you'd have to hop back onto the bus and come back, because on request is to get you there and back. But yeah, our BC government rep for BC Transit might be able to clarify a little bit further, but that's as far as I'm aware. It kind of operates the same way as a typical bus where you tap on and tap off in order to get on and use it. But we can always let Bart speak.
Hi, my name is Bart Wellman. I'm BC Transit's Manager of Government Relations for the Okanagan region. So that's correct. Odessa is correct. It's treated like a regular fare. So if it was within a transfer window, you would not have to pay to return, but just given the frequency of our on request service, you generally have to pay both ways. So the scheme that we've proposed would be able to easily accommodate that, given that the pickup location would be the food bank. And I would assume more folks would be asking for rides from the food bank, hopefully with some food items rather than heading to the food bank.
Thanks for the clarification. I think that this is an important service that we're offering to people who are stressed, and our low-income seniors might be some of the people taking advantage of this opportunity, who would normally be able to access the food bank and resource center within walking distance of downtown, right in our core. So, I mean, for 2 years, I think that this is a valuable recommendation, option one.
I just want to ask, so for the on request option, would that only be for pickup and drop off within Summerland? And because right now, I guess you could have on request and go to Penticton, couldn't you?
To the chair. So yes, the on request service is between Summerland and Penticton. Actually, you know what? I think it's Summerland and Princeton. I don't believe it services Penticton, and Bart can clarify that. I was looking that up online, the on request call, because it is a specific service. There's Handy Dart, which is different, which operates for medical appointments, et cetera. And if I recall correctly, that does go to Penticton. But on request, if I recall correctly, is Summerland and Princeton. And Bart, if you happen to know that, to clarify as well.
Yeah, I mean, the on request service deviates from the typical 30 route. So in theory, somebody could use the on request system and find their way to the Summerland Food Bank, but you'd have to have a chat with our dispatcher for pickup and drop off. And I think that the likelihood of that being kind of the most efficient use of that person's resources would be unlikely. It's not something that I'd considered, but I'm happy to give it some more thought.
So I think we want to make sure that this is for Summerland residents only, and that we don't have people from Penticton coming to use our food bank. Or Princeton, yeah. Councillor Betts?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So as just thinking the item through a little bit further, is it possible that residents are looking for this additional service would only be able to access it from any of the bus stops in Summerland? That was sort of my understanding, but that was an assumption as compared to at people's homes. So I was assuming you would use the bus service to get you to, say, near Nestor's, and then hop on the on-demand on request service. But that's actually not what it is. So can we speak to that? Is that something that's possible, that it's from the bus stop?
As far as I'm aware, if I understand the question correctly, so through the chair, the on request is from, it could be from door to door. So if you were to call at your home, you could be picked up there and then taken to the bus stop. I don't believe it strictly operates from a existing bus stop location to be picked up to then go to a different area. And again, Bart, you can clarify, but I didn't understand it that way on the BC Transit website or how it's been described elsewhere.
Thanks. Thank you, Odessa. Just with a couple extra moments to consider the problem statement, we could adjust the parameters of the program so that, the free ride to the food bank is only valid if the pickup address is within Summerland or at a Summerland stop.
Well, I think anywhere in Summerland is fair enough to try, maybe we could try it for 6 months and see how it's going. Yeah. Councillor Peak?
This is a very good discussion. When you look at the numbers too, 25% is likely to only be somewhere between 4 and 5 people a week. We're not looking at high usage, but certainly we do want to keep it to our Summerland residents.
Okay, somebody want to bring a motion forward? Councillor Betts?
I'd like to bring the motion forward, but can we specify that it's for Summerland residents only in Summerland addresses?
Corporate officer, how do we word that? Yeah. Oh, there you go. Does that work? Yeah. Okay, do I have a seconder? Councillor Trainer, any further discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. That carries. Just where we're on the topic of transit, we got a letter recently from a fellow in Trout Creek asking, why doesn't the Route 30 stop in Trout Creek on all the routes, on all the only some? I don't know if anybody ever got back to him, but I think that would be. Is that a question we can ask? Like why is it sometimes they stop in Trout Creek and sometimes it doesn't? Since we have BC Transit on the line.
Sure. Yeah, I'm happy to answer. So I'm not familiar with the exact specifics of the engagement that was done with Trout Creek residents or the planning behind that route, but typically we would be providing what we call kind of peak time service when we deviate from our traditional routing. So I think it's just as everything is, it's a trade-off in terms of en route time in Summerland and traveling to and from Penticton, and just ensuring that when the bus does deviate, it's at a time that's of the most use to the residents of Trout Creek.
Okay, thank you. Something to keep an eye on. Okay, moving on to our next item. Thank you very much for joining us today. Recycle BC, and this Mr. Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Recycle BC provides incentives to local governments, First Nations, private companies, and nonprofits to collect residential packaging and paper under contract with Recycle BC through a master services agreement and various statements of work, which form part of the master services agreement. The current master services agreement between Recycle BC and the District of Summerland expires at the end of this year. Recycle BC has brought forward template statements of work for the master services agreement for curbside collection, multifamily building collection, and depot collection to the district for a term of 5 years with the option to extend the agreement for up to 2 periods of 1 year each. The proposed changes in the agreement include 10% increase in curbside revenue, 5% increase in multifamily revenue, and close to doubling of landfill depot incentives from Recycle BC. The estimated impacts from higher incentive rates are noted in the financial section of the report. Staff do note that the increases do not cover the full cost of curbside recycling for the District of Summerland under the new contract with Waste Connections of Canada starting July 2025. Recycle BC conducted a third-party cost study that was recently completed, reviewing costs from collectors across the province. Recycle BC has raised their allowed contamination rate from 3% to 5%, which is positive. This higher percentage is more realistic as most jurisdictions do not meet the 3% contamination rate. Under the contract, collectors with higher contamination rates are subject to required remediation plans and holdbacks of these incentives. This contract's the same for all collectors in the province and not subject to negotiation. Requests for changes can be submitted, but every contract in BC would need to be amended. The district currently receives approximately $243,000 from Recycle BC. Should the district move forward and renew the master services agreement, it's expected the annual payments to the district will increase to $306,000, an increase of approximately $63,000. We're happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you. Council, any questions? Councillor Betts?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks, Joe, for the presentation. Obviously, it seems there's not much to be done in terms of negotiating it. It is a contract in that way. My question is about that additional $63,000. Are we able to allocate that and lower the cost of waste removal services for our residents?
Thanks.
So through the mayor to Councillor Betts. Council years ago passed a bylaw wherein all MMBC payments get directed directly into the capital or the asset management reserve. So this additional 63,000 based on that bylaw automatically will go into that capital reserve for capital spending.
Any other questions? Councillor Markle?
Isn't it specific to the landfill reserve or is it just general reserves?
Councillor Peak?
Not presupposing any decision, but could the policy of the bylaw be changed if we wanted to apply it in a certain manner in a certain year to reduce costs to our residents?
Through the mayor, yeah, council can change a bylaw at any point in time. We just need that direction.
Councillor Betts?
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm open, to having that discussion. This is an opportunity for us to take this additional funds that the province is providing to us to help provide the service and in an operational cost, and it's going into a capital reserve. Now, we choose to make capital contributions, and that's a difficult discussion, but these additional monies coming from the province, this is an opportunity for us to lower some costs for our residents. And I think that that's compelling.
Councillor Patton?
Thank you, Worship. Earlier this month, we had our budget deliberations and we raised our citizens' taxes by 0.5% to our moving forward. But this is more than 0.5%. So if we could utilize this monies, it will save our citizens money in the long run by not having to increase for those reserves as we move forward. So they are getting the benefit of it. Maybe it's not $1.30 off of their garbage bin, but in the long run, they are receiving a benefit from the 63,000 going into asset management.
So this doesn't have anything specific to the contract. I would suggest if anybody wants us to make changes that they maybe speak with staff and bring forward a notice of motion at some point. And if there is not anything else, if somebody wants to bring a motion forward, Councillor Peak, Councillor Patton, all in favor? And any opposed? Not opposed, that carries. So got the contract right here. They're ready to sign it. So. Southern Ontario Bylaw Notice Dispute Education Agreement, Corporate Officer.
Thank you, Mayor Holmes. So local governments in the Southern Interior work together through the Southern Interior Bylaw Notice Dispute Adjudication Registry Agreement, otherwise known as CEDA, to operate bylaw dispute adjudication. The group meets annually to review and discuss the program. The group met recently for the AGM. The City of Kelowna provides leadership for the registry and financial administration of the program, for which the district and other member municipalities contribute annually. I believe the district's contribution is about $1,200 and it's already included in the budget. So the current agreement expires on December 31st, 2024, and it is proposed that a new agreement be updated as follows. To add the town of Osoyoos as a list of the participating local governments, to update the timeline to prepare the draft operating budget from September 30th of each year to October 31st to better align with the group's AGM timeline. To add a statement to clarify that any access to information requests received by the City of Kelowna will be transferred to the correct party in accordance with FOIPA. And as the new agreement is attached to the bylaw, a bylaw amendment is required to update the Schedule A with the new agreement. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you. Council, any questions? Don't see any. Somebody want to bring a motion forward? Councillor Patton? As presented. Second, Councillor Peak. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? And none opposed. That carries. Next up, we have fees and charges amendment bylaw. This will be Director of Finance, please.
Thank you, Mayor Holmes. So over the past 2 months, council has deliberated both the general fund budgets as well as the utility budgets. We also held a virtual open house on November 19th to present the proposed 2025 utility rates. In total, 8 members of the public attended the live Zoom meeting. And additionally, the presentation has received 96 views on our YouTube channel, which has generated 16 pieces of correspondence, which are attached to the council report. Now, in order for utility rates to be effective for January 1st, 2025, the attached bylaws do need to be approved by the end of this year. Based on the utility budgets presented to the public at that virtual open house, the following utility rate increases are proposed for January 1st, 2025. An 8.08% increase in sewer rates, a 5.66% increase in electric rates, and a 7% increase in water rates. In addition to these January 1st rate increases, an additional 1% water rate increase will come into effect on September 1st, 2025. Now, the delay was to provide some financial support to residents and agricultural water users during the peak summer months. The individual rate increases will see a typical Summerland residents' monthly utility payments increase by $17.25, which is equivalent to an annualized increase of 6.51% or $207. Now, in addition to the utility rate increases, the attached bylaws take into account council direction received during general fund budget deliberations that occurred a few weeks ago. Specifically, the following increases are included. The first one, monthly base cart program fee, so this is the curbside collection program, will increase $1.18 to offset the increased contractual costs the district has to pay. This fee increase will be effective January 1st, 2025. 2025 dog licensing fees for neutered or spayed dogs will increase by $5 and $10 for unneutered or unspayed dogs. And finally, building permit fees will increase by $1 per $1,000 of construction value. Both bylaws are ready for first 3 readings, and I can answer any questions if you have any. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Council, any questions? Councillor Van Alphen.
Thanks to our Director of Finance. So just if you can clarify for me on agricultural rates, so residential and agriculture in 2025 would be looking at 16% increase? Because 8 for residential, for your residential part, and then another 8 for your agricultural?
So through the mayor, I'm not catching the 16%.
You said 7, then an additional 1? So that's for my that would be for my residential water meter.
Correct?
And then another 7 plus 1 for my agricultural water meter.
Correct.
So that equals 16, does it not?
Oh, that's how you got that. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Counselor Barkle.
I don't see how you get 16%. That's 8% on each bill. That's not, you don't add them together.
Pardon me?
That's 8% on each bill. That's a separate amount. So your total, when you add them together, is going to go up 8%.
No, 8 per.
No,
Utility.
8 each, but that doesn't mean you have a 16% increase in your costs. I hope that none of the taxpayers are out there thinking that they're going to see it go up. 8's bad enough.
Thank you for that clarification. Anyone else? Okay, so if somebody bring a motion forward, please. Counselor Betts, as presented. Second. Counselor Barkwell, any discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? Counselor Val Nelfon's opposed. Motion carries. Bylaws for adoption. Zoning bylaw amendment, Mr. Dolvett.
Thank you, Your Worship. We have a zoning bylaw amendment that's been on hold since August of this year. In particular, it's been on hold at third reading because there was also a subdivision application that was applied for, and a portion of the subdivided lot was going to be a previous ALC exclusion that was approved by the ALC. And so we're moving that land from the ALC through one of the parcels that were going to be created. So for that reason, this is the placement of a medium density residential zone. Our staff recommendation to council at the time in August was that we would not place the zone on the property until that subdivision was completed, because we didn't want a medium density residential zone placed on AR land. And so that I'm happy to report to council that that subdivision application has been approved by myself as the approving officer. It has also been registered with Land Titles BC, so that subdivision application has been completed. And now council can move forward with adoption of this zoning. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Council, any questions? Someone would like to bring the motion forward, please? Councillor Patton, Councillor Peak. Any discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? And none opposed? That carries. Moving on to the Parks Regulation Amendment Bylaw. This is what we had first 3 readings last meeting, and just up for adoption. You want to bring that forward? Councillor Betts, Councillor Trainer, any discussion? Councillor Barkwell?
This is my last chance to voice my objection to the requirement that the dogs be on leash at Peach Orchard. So I'll be voting against it.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? And any opposed? Councillor Patton and Barkwell opposed. The motion carries. Now items removed from consent. First one will be A, 4.4A, Fire Smart BC. Councillor Betts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I only brought this one forward, not just only, but it's talking about the Wildfire Resiliency and Training Summit happening this upcoming April 12th to 16th in Penticton. And it's really talking about living with fire, and I believe hosted by our Indigenous neighbors in Penticton Indian Band. And there's 2 questions. One, I was wondering if we're involved in this summit, if CAO or if Chief Robinson could talk about that.
CO.
Thank you, and through the mayor. I haven't had a chance to follow up with the chief yet. I, in fact, just noticed that myself today in the materials, and so it's on my list to follow up with him in our one-on-one to see if we're involved. I suspect not, but I do believe you're right that it's hosted by Penticton Indian Band.
Thank you. Because it's hosted by, and really speaking about from what the materials are talking about, not just living with fire, but how to kind of bring back Indigenous perspectives on how to treat our lands and learn about how to kind of take care of it. I feel like it would be pretty important for somebody on our fire department to be at that summit. And I just would hope that we can make that happen. My second question about this one was, there was speaking about a Wildfire Community Preparedness Day Award, Saturday, May 3rd, and communities can apply for $500 grants to plan an event, and you can apply for this money. But I didn't know if it was just neighborhoods or kind of more of a larger community, but seeing as we're right in the occasionally Smokanogan, is that the right word? That I thought maybe this could be a kind of something that maybe Odessa could take a look at, or just, we've got a lot of people who are already concerned about Fire Smart, and this could bring people together.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. See, our CEO is making a note. Next one, C, that would be Silga Call for Community Excellence Awards.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I brought this one forward because they're looking for nominations in communities about environmental sustainability, social responsibility, and economic development. And I was just trying to think about projects that Summerland might be able to stand forward, and I wanted to bring it to council and see if any bright ideas might come forward. The nominations are open until February 1st, and I know that we do such good work here in trying to be environmental and economic and social stewards, and just thought there might be an opportunity there for recognition.
Yeah, we should put our minds at it over Christmas to think what we could put forward. So, and same as the next one. Go ahead. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, go ahead. I was going to bring this one forward as well, but go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just, it was the call for the SILGA resolutions required in by February 21st. The reason I brought it was because I don't really know as a new councillor where we stand with our UBCM resolutions that weren't, that didn't make it to the floor for discussion. Are they, you know, dead in the water? Do we need to begin again at the SILGA table, at the SILGA resolution floor? And I just was hoping for a little bit more information, if anyone has it.
Yeah, I don't know if we want to start flogging dead horses, but it's always possible you bring one back. I don't know what the policy is, bringing resolutions back. We could find out. But also, I think, again, the deadlines, I think the end of February for resolutions. So I think by our February meeting, we will, corporate officer, what would be the timeline of bringing resolutions forward?
Thanks, Mayor Holmes. So I will send council an email that I kind of do every year saying, hey, resolutions are open if you have any for consideration. So I'll send that before the Christmas break. And then during the Christmas break, if any council has any resolutions, I'll work with that councillor to draft and then bring forward to council at the January 21st meeting. If they all get approved, then council can consider them. Council can bring forward any new ones, and then all the resolutions will go for final approval at the February 11th meeting to submit before the February 21st deadline.
Okay, so again, we can think about it over Christmas. I'm planning to bring one forward regarding gravel pit approvals. So I think that would be a good one to bring forward. Anyone else? Okay, so what we need now, so we need a resolution to just to receive those three pieces of correspondence. Councillor Betts, Councillor Van Elfen, all in favor, and that carries. And now if I get a resolution to close the meeting to the public pursuant to Community Charter sections 91 C, E, I, and K. Get a Councillor Van Elfen, Councillor Barkwell, all in favor, that carries.